The day the sky changed. September 11th, 2001. The world remembers it as the day when fear took to the skies. But hidden behind the headlines of terror and tragedy lies a story that was buried, a story that few knew, and even fewer survived to tell. Among the 4 hijacked planes that day, one became a symbol of defiance: United Flight 93. Official reports said it crashed in a field near Shanksville, Pennsylvania, after passengers fought the hijackers. But what if that wasn't the full truth? What if there was something far greater at play, something the world was never meant to know? Flight 93 takes off. The morning began like any other. At Newark International Airport, Captain Elias Trent, a veteran pilot and former Air Force test aviator, checked his instruments while the cabin filled with passengers. Beside him sat First Officer Dana Ruiz, sharp, calm, and precise. In the cabin were 44 souls, business travelers, students, parents, and among them, a quiet man named Agent Caleb Ward, traveling under an alias. Caleb wasn't on an ordinary flight. He worked for a shadow branch of the Defense Advanced Research Projects Agency, DARPA, a unit so secret that not even most of the government knew it existed. His mission that morning was simple: escort a prototype briefcase containing Project Aurora, a classified piece of technology capable of temporarily interfering with electronic signals, including aircraft control systems. As the Boeing 757 climbed into the clear blue sky, Caleb sat near the rear, watching the reflection of the sun on the wings. He didn't know that by the time the flight would end, the world would be changed forever, and the line between science and fate would blur beyond recognition. The hijacking, the unthinkable, begins. At 9:27 a.m., the first scream echoed through the cabin. 3 men rose suddenly, knives flashing, shouting in Arabic. One stormed the cockpit. Dana barely had time to react before a blade was at her throat. The hijacker forced Captain Trent to turn the plane toward Washington, D.C. Passengers were forced to the back. Caleb's instincts kicked in, but he hesitated. He couldn't risk the device falling into the wrong hands. He slipped the briefcase under the seat and observed quietly. Over the in-flight radio, faint transmissions broke through, mentions of other hijacked planes. One hitting the World Trade Center, another striking the Pentagon. Realization swept through the cabin. This wasn't a hostage situation. It was a suicide mission. Terror turned to silence. Then, from that silence, something unexpected emerged: resolve. The plan to fight back. At 9:35 a.m., the passengers began whispering, forming a plan. Tom Beamer, a businessman, took charge. Lisa Jefferson, a flight attendant, comforted the frightened. A young engineer named Rashid Khan, ironically of Middle Eastern descent, began calculating timing and positions. They're only 3. We're over 40. Caleb finally revealed his identity, showing them the black briefcase. I can jam their instruments for a few seconds, he said. Long enough to take back control, but it'll also disable ours. We'll be flying blind. Then we fight blind, Tom replied. From the cockpit came the voice of the lead hijacker, Nawaf al-Hazmi, shouting into the radio, Allah is great. He didn't realize that the cockpit microphone was still transmitting. The ground controllers were listening to everything. At 9:57 a.m., Caleb activated the device. A low hum filled the air, lights flickered, and the plane systems glitched. The hijackers stumbled as the autopilot disengaged. That was the signal. The passengers surged forward, using boiling water, fire extinguishers, anything they could grab. The fight was brutal, chaotic. Caleb and Rashid reached the cockpit door. Dana, still conscious but bleeding, shouted, "Take it back!" With a final push, they broke through. Inside, Captain Trent had been stabbed but was still alive, trying to keep the plane level. The hijacker at the controls snarled, lunging toward him. Caleb fired his service pistol. One precise shot. The man fell. But the control panel was sparking. half dead from the EMP interference. Trent coughed blood, whispering, "We can't land her. Not like this." The revelation, a mission within the mission. As the passengers secured the cabin, Caleb opened the briefcase again. The device inside, a sleek metallic cube, wasn't just an electronic jammer. It was a quantum field generator, part of a classified DARPA experiment designed to bend local spacetime frequencies for stealth aircraft testing. In simple terms, it could bend radar signals and, theoretically, space itself. Caleb's orders had been to transport it safely. But now, with the engines failing and the ground approaching fast, another thought emerged. Could it save them? Trent, barely conscious, looked at him. If it can make us disappear from radar, maybe it can make us disappear for good. Caleb hesitated. It's untested. Then test it, Trent rasped. With trembling hands, Caleb set the device to maximum field output. A vibration spread through the cabin, not just sound, but something deeper, felt in the bones. The sky outside distorted, colors bending into a swirling halo. Rashid shouted, "Altitude dropping! We're going down!" Caleb slammed the activation switch. A flash of light engulfed them, white, pure, infinite. The alternate sky. Where did they go? When Caleb opened his eyes, everything was silent. The cabin was intact, but outside, there was no Earth. Instead, the plane floated in an endless expanse of shimmering clouds, like an ocean made of light. Trent gasped weakly, looking out the window. "Is this heaven?" Caleb checked his watch. It was frozen. Every electronic device on board had stopped. Even gravity felt weaker. They weren't in the sky anymore. They were somewhere else. Rashid theorized that the quantum field generator had created a temporal rift. They'd slipped out of the physical world at the moment of impact, suspended in what physicists might call a null dimension. Time had stopped. They were alive, but not truly living. For what felt like days, they drifted. The passengers, bruised and bloodied, sat in stunned silence. Some prayed. Some wept. Finally, Caleb spoke. "If this is what it took to stop them from hitting their target, maybe this is the price we had to pay." No one argued. Then, from beyond the glowing mist, shadows appeared, enormous, winged silhouettes gliding silently. They weren't birds or machines, but something in between, luminous entities of energy. One approached the cockpit, its eyes like stars. A voice filled the cabin. "You sacrificed to save your world. Return, and your names will live forever. Stay, and you will know peace beyond time." Trent looked at Caleb, then at the passengers. "They deserve to go home," he whispered. Caleb hesitated. "If we return, what happens?" "You will be remembered," the being said. "But not as you truly were." Caleb understood. They could return, but not physically. Their story would become history, half-truth and mystery, forever altered by human understanding. Trent closed his eyes. "Then that's enough." The entity touched the plane's nose with a beam of light. The world vanished again. The field in Pennsylvania. Hours later, radar operators at the FAA noticed a strange blip appear out of nowhere, just for a second, over Pennsylvania. Then, a bright flash on satellite imagery.